You realized it too late. That day when they laughed at your pain like it was a joke, something inside you died, and something else started to be born. It wasn't just humiliation, it was surgery without anesthesia on your soul. From that moment on, every look of contempt became a scalpel, cutting deeper. And behind that invisible blood, an awakening started to form, silent, cold, calculated. No one there noticed, but your brain recorded everything like a hidden camera. The expressions, the words, the omissions. Their laughter became a trigger and your mind started a pattern break you still don't fully understand. On the outside, you stayed quiet. On the inside, something whispered, "Stop seeking approval." You felt the first shock of the hidden truth. They never saw you as equal. Have you ever felt like nobody understands you, even when you're surrounded by people? It's like being in the center of a crowded room and at the same time, frozen outside the glass. You watch everything in silence while they treat your presence like dead weight. And deep down, an inner strength starts knocking at the door, demanding space. While they spoke, your body stayed still, but your mind started calculating escape routes. Not cowardly escape, strategic distance. Distance is power, and you're starting to suspect that. Every time you swallow hard, something in you whispers, "You bother the system." They thought they were making you smaller. Without noticing, they were sharpening the blade. Nobody wants you to know this, but your calm presence has always irritated people who live on appearances. You were not born to be anyone's accessory. When you enter mute and leave silent, they interpret it as weakness. But what they call weakness is, in truth, a slow build of resistance, a silent construction of a new freedom. Deep inside, there is a side of you that was always called too much, too cold, too intense, rebellious by nature. How many times did they make you doubt your own perception as if your pain was drama? The truth hurts when you realize it was never about you being good enough. It was about them needing someone to step on. And this is where your transformation begins. You feel like you carry a monster chained inside your chest. Not a weak monster, but one that observes, understands, waits. They want you to fear that dark side and see it as a mistake. But that side, that shadow, is exactly your raw authenticity. It is the one that whispers, "Do it differently, break limits, show who you are." I challenge you not to feel anything when you hear this. If you disappeared today, who would really miss you and who would only miss the usefulness you provide? This question enters your mind like slow poison. You realize that many connections were never about affection, they were about convenience. And in that realization, your inner strength starts to wake up, starving. You notice a pattern. The more you try to please, the less respect you get. The more you shrink yourself, the more they step on you. Your brain goes into conflict because it was trained to seek validation. But a new voice grows. You were not born to please. This is the first step of real overcoming, betraying the script they wrote for you. From that moment on, every fake smile starts to make you sick. Every selfish invitation, every calculated compliment, everything sounds like noise. You start to see the hidden truth behind every gesture, and the more you see, the more you feel fear. Not fear of them, fear of who you might become if you decide to stop being the doormat. Your pain will turn into strength, but it still hurts. It hurts when you realize that they will never truly understand you the way you need. It hurts when you accept that maybe no one is coming back to apologize. It hurts to admit that the freedom you want demands loneliness. But this sharp pain is different. It doesn't paralyze you. It pushes you to the edge of something bigger. You start testing small ruptures. A no here, a strategic silence there, a slow distancing from those who only drain you. They find it strange. Some attack you, others call you cold. They will try to stop you, they will accuse you of having changed. What they don't know is that this change is actually you returning to your axis, returning to yourself. In this process, you discover something brutal. The truth hurts, but the lie kills you slowly. Yes, it's easier to pretend everything is fine, stay useful, follow the script. But your body can't take it anymore. Your chest tightens, your sleep disappears, your mind screams. Wake up to life. Either you break now, or you spend the rest of your days burying your own soul alive. You are not the mistake. You are the reaction. You are the result of years being pushed into a corner. What they call coldness is self-protection. What they call selfishness is a boundary. What they call monstrous is just your inner monster taking the throne. Only the strong resist this calling, and few have the courage to answer it without apologizing. Comment if you have ever lived something like this. If you've ever felt that silent rage burning behind your eyes while you pretended nothing was happening. Because this is just the beginning. You don't know it yet, but your absence will teach more than years of submissive presence. And when you decide to leave the scene, that's when respect begins. You walk into the room and it feels like it's draining your soul dry. Too many voices, too many masks, nobody really seeing you. People talk, laugh, pose, but inside you feel only a cold, heavy emptiness glued to your chest. It's like the whole world is at a party, and you're the only sober one watching the circus burn. Have you noticed how your energy changes the atmosphere, even when you stay silent? They feel it, but they pretend they don't. They pretend you have no power, that you don't carry this strange, almost threatening inner strength. Yet at the same time, they keep you around. They need you close enough to drain you, but never close enough to respect you. At some point, it starts to hurt in a different way. It's not just sadness anymore, it's irritation, emotional nausea. You start to notice the choreography, the repeated jokes, the same masks, the fake compliments. And inside something whispers, "You were not born to please." That thought is a pattern break in your brain, and there is no going back. You feel the conflict. One part of you wants to fit in, be accepted, belong. The other part looks at all of this and thinks, this is pathetic. You feel torn between the fear of the unknown and the call of freedom. On one side, the comfort of staying invisible. On the other, the brutal courage of finally showing who you are. While they laugh, your brain starts doing something nobody sees. It analyzes. It measures the tone of their voices, the falseness of their smiles, the interest behind their invitations. It's like you've activated a hidden vision mode. You begin to see the hidden truth behind the social curtain. And the truth hurts, because it shows that a lot of it was never real. Have you ever felt like nobody understands you, and still everyone feels entitled to judge you? They don't know what you carry, they don't know what you've survived, but they point fingers with zero hesitation. That's when resistance starts to grow. Not as a scream, but as a conscious silence. You stop explaining yourself. You stop apologizing for existing. Inside, what they call cold is just a survival mechanism. You learn that opening up too much to the wrong people is handing yourself to the knife. So you close. Not because you lack feeling, but because you have too many scars. They don't see that. They prefer to label you as distant, difficult, rebellious by nature. Slowly, you realize something that changes everything. You're not the one who is out of place. The environment is too small for your authenticity. It's like trying to pour an ocean into a plastic cup. They want you to shrink, to cut off parts of yourself to fit their expectations. But your soul is starting to understand that this is a slow suicide. You feel this awakening like a dark light turning on inside you. It's not pretty. It's not some cute social media motivation. It's raw, it's real. It's a monster waking up. And this monster doesn't care about cheap applause anymore. It wants to break limits, it wants real transformation, it wants to stop playing the extra and take the lead in its own story. I challenge you not to feel this. How many times have you felt too big on the inside for the place you were in? How many times did you have to shrink yourself just to fit into a conversation, a group, a relationship? Stop seeking approval from people who were never interested in your essence. That's not love. That's control dressed up as affection. And there is a fear almost nobody admits. The fear of being alone. The fear of stepping away from this empty crowd and facing the echo of your own mind. But you know what's worse than that fear? Being surrounded by people and still feeling abandoned. That eats you alive. That kills you slowly from the inside. That extinguishes your fire before life even truly tests you. You bother the system precisely because you think too much, feel too much, notice too much. And systems hate those who see the cracks. They prefer people who just obey, agree, comply. You are the flaw in the social algorithm. And that's exactly why you are necessary. The world needs the ones who break the script, not the ones who follow it blindly to the end. Comment if you've ever stood in the middle of a group and still felt more alone than when you're locked in your room. Because that's where it all begins. When you understand that being surrounded is not the same as being seen. And once that understanding really sinks in, you never look at the crowd the same way again. You carry a weight in your chest that you cannot confess to anyone. On the outside, you say, "It's fine. It's nothing. I'm just tired." Inside, you know that's a lie. You know you've been swallowing things that would destroy most people. But you keep it quiet. Because every time you tried to open up, they called you dramatic, weak, or too much. There is a guilt that nobody sees. The guilt of feeling everything, of noticing everything, of not conseguir mais fingir. You feel guilty for não aceitar migalhas, por se cansar do papel de bonzinho, por começar a questionar tudo. And in your mind, a voice repeats, "The truth hurts." It hurts because the hidden truth is this. They trained you to feel guilty for finally choosing yourself. You start to blame yourself for things that were never your fault. You replay conversations, moments, mistakes. Your brain analyzes every word you said, every reaction you had. You torture yourself in silence. And the worst part? They keep living like nothing happened. They sleep. You don't. You bleed. They forget. That's how this invisible prison is built. Have you ever felt like you were wrong just for feeling too deeply? Like your pain was somehow an inconvenience to others? That's how they taught you to be. Quiet, controlled, functional. They don't want your honesty. They want your compliance. And every time you try to speak your truth, something inside you freezes, afraid of being rejected again. This is how your mind learns to attack itself. You become your own judge, your own executioner. You punish yourself before anyone else can. You tell yourself you're not enough, that you overreact, that maybe they're right. That's how the system keeps you under control. When the cage is inside your head, no one needs chains on the outside. But today, something shifts. In the middle of this storm of self-blame, another thought appears. Quiet, but firm. Your pain will turn into strength. At first, you don't believe it. It sounds like nonsense. How could this chaos turn into power? How could this mess become transformation? But the thought stays. It doesn't go away. You begin to notice that your sensitivity, the same one that they mocked, is also your radar. You see what others don't. You feel the lies in the room. You detect danger before it explodes. That is not weakness. That is inner strength in raw form. They called it fragility because they were terrified of what this sensitivity would become if you stopped suppressing it. Inside you, something is waking up. A part that is tired of apologizing for existing. A part that says you were not born to please. That part is a monster, but not the kind they told you. It's not a beast of destruction. It's a guardian. It's the part that says no more. The part that demands respect. The part that refuses to keep carrying the guilt of others. I challenge you to look at your story and see how many times you took the blame just to keep the peace. How many times you broke yourself just to hold everything together. That's not weakness. That's extreme resistance. That's super-assault in its darkest form. And still they dared to call you fragile. There is a moment coming when this guilt will no longer control you. It will fuel you. Every tear you hid, every night you spent awake, every time you stayed silent to avoid another argument. All of that is turning into fuel. Silent fuel, heavy fuel, dangerous fuel. And when it burns, it doesn't burn you. It burns the lies they built around you. You are starting to understand something they never wanted you to see. You are not broken. You are overloaded. You are not too emotional. You are too aware. You were never the problem. The problem was a world that demanded you to be numb so they could stay comfortable. You bother the system because you feel what they are trying to ignore. Comment if you've ever swallowed words until they turned into knives inside your chest. If you've ever felt guilty just for needing more, for wanting respect, for wanting to be seen. This is not the end of your story. This is the part where the guilt starts to crack. And through those cracks, something much more dangerous begins to rise. You carry a weight in your chest that you cannot confess to anyone. On the outside, you say, "It's fine, it's nothing, I'm just tired." Inside, you know that's a lie. You know you've been swallowing things that would destroy most people. But you keep it quiet, because every time you tried to open up, they called you dramatic, weak, or too much. There is a guilt that nobody sees. The guilt of feeling everything, of noticing everything, of not conseguir mais fingir. You feel guilty for não aceitar migalhas, por se cansar do papel de bonzinho, por começar a questionar tudo. And in your mind, a voice repeats, "The truth hurts." It hurts because the hidden truth is this. They trained you to feel guilty for finally choosing yourself. You start to blame yourself for things that were never your fault. You replay conversations, moments, mistakes. Your brain analyzes every word you said, every reaction you had. You torture yourself in silence. And the worst part? They keep living like nothing happened. They sleep. You don't. You bleed. They forget. That's how this invisible prison is built. Have you ever felt like you were wrong just for feeling too deeply? Like your pain was somehow an inconvenience to others? That's how they taught you to be. Quiet, controlled, functional. They don't want your honesty. They want your compliance. And every time you try to speak your truth, something inside you freezes, afraid of being rejected again. This is how your mind learns to attack itself. You become your own judge, your own executioner. You punish yourself before anyone else can. You tell yourself you're not enough, that you overreact, that maybe they're right. That's how the system keeps you under control. When the cage is inside your head, no one needs chains on the outside. But today, something shifts. In the middle of this storm of self-blame, another thought appears, quiet but firm. Your pain will turn into strength. At first, you don't believe it. It sounds like nonsense. How could this chaos turn into power? How could this mess become transformation? But the thought stays. It doesn't go away. You begin to notice that your sensitivity, the same one that they mocked, is also your radar. You see what others don't. You feel the lies in the room. You detect danger before it explodes. That is not weakness. That is inner strength in raw form. They called it fragility because they were terrified of what this sensitivity would become if you stopped suppressing it. Inside you, something is waking up. A part that is tired of apologizing for existing. A part that says, "You were not born to please." That part is a monster, but not the kind they told you. It's not a beast of destruction. It's a guardian. It's the part that says no more. The part that demands respect. The part that refuses to keep carrying the guilt of others. I challenge you to look at your story and see how many times you took the blame just to keep the peace. How many times you broke yourself just to hold everything together. That's not weakness. That's extreme resistance. That's super-assault in its darkest form. And still, they dared to call you fragile. There is a moment coming when this guilt will no longer control you, it will fuel you. Every tear you hid, every night you spent awake, every time you stayed silent to avoid another argument, all of that is turning into fuel. Silent fuel, heavy fuel, dangerous fuel, and when it burns, it doesn't burn you. It burns the lies they built around you. You are starting to understand something they never wanted you to see. You are not broken. You are overloaded. You are not too emotional. You are too aware. You were never the problem. The problem was a world that demanded you to be numb so they could stay comfortable. You bother the system because you feel what they are trying to ignore. Comment if you've ever swallowed words until they turned into knives inside your chest. If you've ever felt guilty just for needing more, for wanting respect, for wanting to be seen. This is not the end of your story. This is the part where the guilt starts to crack, and through those cracks something much more dangerous begins to rise. Current topic: 3 Proximo en inglés. You smile on the outside, but inside you feel like glass under pressure, ready to shatter at any second. You've become an expert at pretending you're okay. You joke, you nod, you say it's all good, but your chest is tight, your jaw is tense, and there's a storm stuck behind your eyes. You know if you let one crack appear, everything will explode. This is the war between who you show and who you are. On one side, the version they accept, quiet, manageable, predictable. On the other, the version you hide, intense, deep, uncomfortable, full of power and authenticity. And this hidden version is tired of waiting. You feel it pushing, scratching, begging to come out no matter the cost. Have you ever looked in the mirror and not recognized yourself? You stare at your own face and think, who is this? You see someone que se adaptou demais, que se cortou em pedaços só para caber nas expectativas dos outros. You see how many times you betrayed yourself to keep the peace. And in that reflection, you feel both fear of the unknown and a burning desire for freedom. Your brain tries to protect you, repeating old commands: don't cause trouble and don't be difficult and don't be different. But another voice starts to rise, darker and more honest. Do it differently, show who you are. This voice is a pattern break. It challenges every rule you were taught, and once you hear it clearly, you can't unhear it. On the surface, you still play the role, but internally you're done. You notice every time someone crosses your boundaries. You feel every moment you force a laugh you don't mean. You register every time you stay quiet when you should have spoken. And each one of these moments becomes a drop of poison or a drop of fuel. You decide which. There's a side of you they would call dangerous if they ever saw it. The side that doesn't care about fitting in. The side that doesn't want approval, wants respect. That side is rebellious by nature, heavy, raw. It looks at fake harmony and wants to burn it to the ground, not out of hate, but out of hunger for something real. You start to realize that your fragility and your strength are 2 faces of the same thing. The same heart that breaks easily also fights until the end. The same mind that overthinks also sees patterns nobody else sees. Your so-called weakness was always just untrained inner strength, and they were counting on you never noticing that. Inside you, a monster is waking up. Not a mindless beast, but a conscious one. A creature made of every time you held back, every time you swallowed your anger, every time you accepted less than you deserved. This monster doesn't want revenge. It wants balance. It wants to stop being your prisoner and start being your protector. The truth hurts. You've been playing small to make other people comfortable. You've been breaking yourself to keep spaces, relationships, and groups that nunca te deram o mesmo em troca, and a question begins to burn in your mind. What would happen if I stopped doing that? That question is a portal. Once you cross it, you don't go back. I challenge you to imagine yourself without the mask, even for a second. Imagine speaking the truth without diluting it. Imagine saying no without explanation. Imagine walking away without guilt. That image scares you and excites you. That mix of fear and excitement is the sign of transformation. It's the sign of a real awakening. They will say you changed. They will say you became cold, distant, egoísta. But what's really happening is simple. You stopped bleeding for everyone. You stopped sacrificing your peace to alimentar sistema que só te consome. You bother the system the moment you stop playing your assigned role. And they will try to put you back in that cage. Comment if you've ever felt this split inside you. The version that everyone accepts versus the version that wants to rip the script apart. Because this fracture, this tension between your mask and your truth is not a defect. It's the tension right before the glass finally breaks, and something much stronger takes its place. You stand at the edge of a decision nobody sees, but it is tearing you apart from the inside. Stay where you are and keep dying slowly, or step into something completely unknown and risk losing everything you still have. Your mind spins like a maze, searching for an exit that doesn't exist. There is no easy door, no safe option, no painless path. And that is exactly where your real transformation begins. This is the moment where your brain short circuits. It was trained to avoid pain, seek comfort, repeat patterns. But now, comfort has become a prison, and pain has become a compass. One path is filled with fake peace, fake smiles, fake safety. The other is a jump into the dark, guided only by your inner strength. And your nervous system shakes because it knows any choice will burn. You feel the fear of the unknown like a chill down your spine, a weight on your legs, a voice saying, "Stay where you are. It's safer." But at the same time, there is another voice, lower, darker, more honest. Wake up to life. This voice doesn't promise comfort. It promises truth. And the truth hurts, but it also frees you. It cuts chains you did not even know you wore. Have you ever stood in front of a decision and felt like any choice would destroy a version of you? That's because that is exactly what happens. One version of you will die today, whether you like it or not. Either the you who cancels yourself, silences yourself, shrinks to fit will die. Or the you who was born to break limits, to show who you are, to disturb those who live on lies, will die. Your mind starts creating disaster scenarios. If I walk away, I'll be alone forever. If I change, nobody will recognize me. If I stop pleasing, they will abandon me. These thoughts are loops built to keep you trapped. They sound logical, but they are just chains with a voice. Desperate attempts from the old system to survive. You bother the system the moment you start thinking differently. There is a part of you that still believes that one day they will wake up, apologize, finally understand you. That part is soft, but it is also what keeps you stuck. You keep waiting for recognition from people who never had the intention of truly seeing you. Meanwhile, your soul screams, exhausted, begging for freedom, begging for a final cut. The cut that has no return. Inside, a war begins. On one side, your old need for approval, fed by years of rejection. On the other, your darker, heavier, truer side, saying, "Stop seeking approval." That dark side is the beginning of your awakening. It doesn't want you to become a saint. It wants you to become whole. Even if that terrifies everyone, including you. You feel like you are standing between two worlds. In one, you remain predictable, nice, controllable. In the other, you become everything they always tried to erase, intense, deep, non-negotiable. The part of them that loves you weak will call you a monster if you cross that line. But that monster is just your version without a leash, without a filter, without fear of existing fully. I challenge you to admit this. The life that scares you the most is the life where you are completely honest with yourself. Honest about who you like, who you cannot stand, what you refuse to accept anymore. Honest about how tired you are of carrying everything in silence. This honesty is the point of no return, and that is why you kept postponing this moment. While you think, your body gives clear signals. The exhaustion is not just physical, it is spiritual. Your mind can no longer stand running the same dialogues, the same justifications, the same lies. Every time you force a "I'm fine," your chest tightens a little more. This is not weakness. This is your inner strength, refusing to live a script that isn't yours. Your pain will turn into strength, but not in that cheap, pretty motivational way you see online. It will turn into strength when you use this pain as proof, as evidence that you have already endured too much. You are not breaking now. You were broken countless times, and you are still here. That is not an accident. That is resistance. That is the DNA of someone born so that only the strong resist. There will be a moment, quiet, almost imperceptible, when you simply decide. There are no fireworks, no soundtrack, just a thought. Enough. That enough is a silent ritual. It is when you choose to lose whatever you must. Accept yourself. It is when you accept that solitude with peace is worth more than any crowd that destroys you. They will say you changed overnight, but it was not overnight. It was scar after scar. They will say you became cold, but nobody saw the nights you burned from the inside. They will say you turned rebellious by nature, but that rebellion is just the natural response of someone who spent years swallowing fire in silence. They see the explosion, never the buildup. Comment if you have ever been frozen at this crossroads, knowing that staying hurts but leaving is terrifying. Because it is exactly here, at this breaking point, that your story changes genre. From repetitive drama to a dark epic of super assault, of brutal transformation. And the choice you make now will define who you will be for the next years. You feel something collapsing inside you long before anyone else notices. On the outside, your life still looks normal. Same places, same people, same routine. But internally, structures are falling. Beliefs, illusions, excuses. Walls you built to survive start to crack one by one. And you know, once they fall, there is no way to rebuild the old version of you. This inner collapse is not pretty. It feels like losing control. Your sleep changes. Your appetite changes. Your patience disappears. Things you tolerated for years now make you sick. Conversations that once distracted you now feel empty, almost insulting. You are not being difficult. You are waking up. And the truth hurts so much that your entire system starts to reject what is fake. Have you noticed how your body reacts before your mind admits the truth? You feel heavy around certain people, drained after certain interactions, anxious in places that once felt familiar. That is your inner strength screaming through your nervous system. It's telling you, this environment is too small for who you are becoming. This is the first visible sign of your transformation. As everything starts to crumble inside, the world will tell you to calm down, to be grateful, to stop overreacting. They will say you are being dramatic, unstable, selfish. But nobody is inside your head at 3 a.m, when your thoughts are so loud you can't rest. Nobody hears the part of you that whispers, "Wake up to life, or this will kill you slowly." You start to see clearly that the problem was never just them or you. The real problem was the role you were forced to play. The role of the quiet one, the strong one. The one who always understands, always forgives, always holds everything together. That role served them. It didn't serve you. And now, that mask is melting, whether they like it or not. In the middle of this collapse, you face a brutal realization. Your absence might be more powerful than your presence. You were taught to stay, to insist, to fix. But what if walking away is the only honest move left? What if your silence, your distance, your no more is the exact pattern break that exposes everyone's true face? You bother the system the most when you stop playing your part. Deep down, you always knew that staying in the wrong place was slowly killing you. But you kept postponing the break, hoping things would magically change. They didn't. They won't. That's when a new thought rises heavy and cold. Stop seeking approval. This thought is not gentle. It is a command. A line in the sand. A door that, once closed, does not reopen. As you crumble, a hidden part of you begins to rise. The part that does not want to be liked, only respected. The part that would rather be feared than used. This is your monster waking up. Not the villain they warn you about, but the guardian of your boundaries, your time, your sanity. This monster is made of every time you swallowed pain just to keep the peace. I challenge you to accept this. Sometimes letting everything fall is the only way to see what truly stands by itself. When the fake friendships fade, the convenient relationships disappear, the opportunists vanish. What remains is uncomfortable but real. This is where your authenticity finally breathes without asking for permission. This is where your pain turns into strength. The collapse forces you to confront the version of you that still wants to be the good one. The one who explains, justifies, softens the truth to avoid hurting others. But ask yourself, who softened anything for you when you were breaking? Who protected your heart while you were being torn apart? Exactly. This time, you choose you. This time, you protect yourself first. In the ruins of who you used to be, a new kind of freedom begins. Not the romanticized, cinematic freedom. A raw, lonely, demanding freedom. The freedom to say no. The freedom to walk away. The freedom to disappoint people who were comfortable with your misery. It is scary as hell, but it is real. And only the strong resist this level of honesty. They will say you became distant, cold, arrogant. They will say you changed. What they won't admit is that you simply stopped accepting crumbs. You stopped letting them sit on a throne built over your self-betrayal. You didn't become cruel. You became precise. You became selective. You became someone who no longer negotiates with disrespect. This desmoronamento is not your failure. It is your rebellion. It is your soul refusing to keep living on autopilot. It is your inner strength, your resistance, your courage finally aligning. From the outside, it looks like chaos. From the inside, it is architecture. You are demolishing what was killing you to make space for what might finally make you feel alive. Comment if you've ever felt everything falling apart inside while everyone around you said, "You're fine, it's just a phase." Because this is not just a phase. This is the point where your old self dies. And in that death, a darker, freer, more powerful version of you is silently being born. Whether the world is ready for it or not, you reach the point where you can no longer run from yourself. The noise outside starts to fade, and the loudest thing in your life becomes your own thoughts. No distractions are enough anymore. No screen, no conversation, no fake comfort can silence what is rising inside you. This is the moment where you are forced to face your own reflection, and it does not blink. Standing in front of that inner mirror, you see everything they never saw. The anger you never expressed, the tears you never showed, the boundaries you never set. You realize how much you have betrayed yourself just to keep others comfortable. This realization is violent. The truth hurts and it hits like a punch you can't dodge because this time it comes from you. Have you ever felt like you were finally seeing yourself without filters for the first time? No excuses, no justifications, but they meant well. Just raw facts. You see where you stayed when you should have left. Where you stayed quiet when you should have spoken. Where you said yes, while your whole body was screaming no. That clarity burns worse than any rejection. Your mind wants to escape again, but something stops you. A new voice, firm and dark, rises from deep inside. Stop seeking approval. It doesn't come as motivation. It comes as a verdict. You understand that as long as you keep begging for love from the wrong places, you will keep abandoning yourself. And that is the deepest betrayal of all. This is where the true awakening begins. It's not about hating everyone. It's about finally seeing the cost of your own self-denial. You realize that every time you chose peace on the outside, you declared war on the inside. Every time you chose not to upset anyone, you shattered another piece of yourself. That pattern ends the day you decide to be loyal to your own soul first. In this confrontation, a dark figure appears in your mind. It's not an enemy. It's you. The version of you that you've been repressing your whole life. The one who doesn't apologize for having standards. The one who doesn't negotiate respect. The one who isn't afraid to walk away. This is your monster, your shadow, your unfiltered self. And it is done hiding. You were taught to fear this monster, to see it as dangerous, cruel, selfish. But as you look closer, you realize it has been protecting you all along. It was the one that made your stomach turn in the wrong situations. It was the one that made you uncomfortable around fake people. It was the one whispering, "This is not right," while you forced yourself to smile. I challenge you to admit this. The part of you they called too much is exactly the part that will save you. Your intensity, your sensitivity, your refusal to accept bullshit. That is your inner strength, not your flaw. You bother the system because you don't swallow everything, because you question, because you see behind the curtain. And systems hate those who see. As you face yourself, you also face a choice. You can keep pretending and go back to your old script, or you can accept that you will lose people the moment you choose yourself, and you will. Some will distance themselves. Some will attack you. Some will call you arrogant, cold, rebellious by nature. But deep down you know, it is better to lose them than lose yourself again. This internal confrontation feels like a war, but it is actually a reunion. The weak, tired, compliant version of you finally meets the raw, unapologetic version. And instead of destroying each other, they start to merge. Your pain blends with your power. Your wounds blend with your courage. Your scars blend with your resistance. This fusion is the birth of something new. You realize that your pain will turn into strength not by forgetting what happened, but by never lying to yourself about it again. You stop romanticizing who hurt you. You stop making excuses for what broke you. You call things by their real names. That honesty is brutal, but it is also the foundation of real freedom. Not the freedom to escape life, the freedom to live it on your terms. They will not understand this process. They will never truly understand you. They will see you quieter, colder, more selective, and they will assume you are bitter. Let them. They did not sit with you in this darkness. They did not face your reflection. They did not wrestle with your shadow. They don't get to define what rises from this. Comment if you've ever had this kind of silent confrontation with yourself, where you felt both ashamed and proud, broken and powerful at the same time. Because this is the real turning point. Not when you fight them, but when you finally stop fighting who you are. From here on, you are not just surviving. You are becoming something they cannot control. You can feel it now. This is no longer just about them. This is about you versus you. One part of you still wants to stay small, quiet, acceptable. The other part is done. It is tired of shrinking, tired of bleeding, tired of begging. That second part doesn't want peace with the world. It wants peace with itself. And for that, war is unavoidable. Inside, it feels like a face-to-face with something ancient. A presence you always felt, but never fully faced. It does not smile. It does not soften the truth. It looks at you with your own eyes, but darker, clearer, sharper. This is not an enemy. This is your raw, unfiltered self. Your shadow, your denied power. The part of you that refused to die, no matter how much you tried to bury it. You were taught to call this side of you wrong. Too intense, too cold, too direct, too much. So you pushed it down layer after layer. You dressed it in guilt and shame. But it never disappeared. It waited. It watched. It collected every insult, every betrayal, every time you stayed when you should have walked away. And now it is standing in front of you, demanding a decision. Have you ever felt that inner conflict where one voice says be nice and the other says they're using you? That is not madness. That is a meeting. A collision between the version of you trained to obey and the version of you born to break limits. The obedient self wants safety. The other self wants freedom, even if it costs everything. This darker self is not interested in approval. It doesn't care who likes you or not. It cares about truth. It cares about integrity. It cares about never again betraying your own soul just to keep someone else comfortable. It is the one repeating, relentlessly, stop seeking approval. That phrase is not advice. It is a sentence, a line drawn in blood. You look at this inner monster and realize something terrifying. It loves you more than anyone else ever did. It is the only part of you that refuses to accept disrespect. The only one that would rather walk alone than walk with those who break you. They called it dangerous because it threatened their control. But this monster is your last line of defense against a world that feeds on the weak. I challenge you to see this clearly. The part of you that everyone tried to tame is the only one truly loyal to you. Your sensitivity, your intensity, your refusal to swallow lies. That is your inner strength, not your defect. You bother the system because this part cannot be fully manipulated. It questions, it resists, it remembers. As you stand there, between your tamed self and your wild self, you understand that you cannot serve both. You cannot live to be liked and live in truth at the same time. One of these lives has to die. Either you kill your authenticity to keep playing the role, or you kill the role and finally let your real self breathe. Either way, something ends here. This confrontation is not clean. You will feel guilt. You will feel fear. You will feel like you are becoming the bad guy. They will call you selfish. They will say you changed. They will say you became hard. But they never complained when you were the one bleeding quietly, right? They only panic when the pattern break threatens their comfort. As you choose your shadow, something strange happens. your pain starts to feel different. It isn't just suffering anymore. It feels like fuel. Heavy, dark, concentrated fuel. Your pain will turn into strength the moment you stop using it to attack yourself and start using it to protect yourself. The moment you say, I went through all of that, and now it will serve me, not destroy me. This inner alliance with your darker self gives you a new kind of courage. Not the loud, impulsive kind. The cold, steady kind. The kind that allows you to say no calmly. The kind that walks away without explanation. The kind that doesn't post about it, doesn't announce it, just lives it. This is the courage that truly scares people, because it cannot be negotiated. They will never fully understand this version of you. They will never truly understand you. They will see your silence as arrogance, your boundaries as aggression, your distance as hate. Let them. They are interpreting your evolution through the lens of their own comfort. You are not here to educate them about your growth. You are here to survive it. Comment if you've ever felt this split. The trained version of you versus the real version knocking on the door. Because this is not just a mood. This is not just a phase. This is the confrontation that decides your future. From this point on, you either keep living as a character, or you finally step into the role you were always meant to play, no matter who walks away. You don't explode, you withdraw. Quietly, strategically, almost invisibly. One day you just stop giving the same energy, stop replying the same way, stop showing up where your soul always left in pieces. From the outside, it looks like nothing. No drama, no big speeches, no goodbye parade. But inside, this is war. This is you finally choosing distance as a weapon, not as an escape. You start to realize that your presence became Barata demise. Too available, too accessible, too taken for granted. They got used to you always being there, no matter how they treated you. They assumed you would never leave. That was the pattern. That was the script. And you bother the system the moment you decide to break it without warning, without explanation, just action. Your withdrawal is not weakness, it is calculation. Instead of arguing, you observe. Instead of begging, you detach. Instead of trying to prove your value, you let the silence prove it for you. This is a new level of power. The kind that doesn't scream, doesn't threaten, doesn't perform. It just walks away. And that quiet exit echoes louder than any confrontation ever would. Have you noticed how the brain of those who used you only reads quando você sum? While you're there, they minimize your presence. When you step back, their nervous system wakes up. They feel the gap, the cold spot where your energy used to be. Your absence becomes a mirror. It shows them exactly what they were taking and how little estavam devolvendo. That discomfort, that's not love. That's loss of control. You are not doing this to punish. You are doing this to survive. Staying where you were was a slow self-destruction. You gave too much, tolerated too much, forgave too much. Your inner strength finally understood that this is not kindness. It's self-abandonment. And your pain will turn into strength the moment you stop offering your loyalty to those who never earned it. The old you would have written long messages, explained feelings, begged to be understood. The new you doesn't. The new you knows they will never truly understand you because they never tried when you were bleeding in front of them. Now your silence is your answer. Your distance is your statement. Your absence is the lesson they never wanted, but now have to face. As you step back, guilt tries to crawl back in. You hear the old voices. You're being harsh. You're exaggerating. Maybe it wasn't that bad. That's the conditioning talking. That's the old programming begging to survive. But then another voice rises, darker, calmer, more precise. Stop seeking approval. This voice belongs to the version of you that finally understands its own value. You feel your monster sitting beside you, watching everything. It doesn't roar. It doesn't lash out. It just observes, with cold clarity. This monster has zero interest in revenge. It only wants one thing. For you to never again trade your peace for proximity. It would rather see you walking alone in silence than cercado de gente que te quebra sorrindo. I challenge you to notice how the world reacts when you no longer play your old role. Some people will panic. Some will get angry. Some will try to guilt trip you back into position. They will say you changed, became cold, distant, rebellious by nature. But what they really mean is, you stopped letting me use you. And that's exactly the transformation they feared. Your absence becomes a test. Those who only stayed for what you gave will fade out. They will not chase, they will not insist, they will simply move on to the next source. But the ones who felt your essence, not just your utility, will notice the void. They will feel the truth hurts in your silence. They will be forced to ask themselves why you had to pull away. This is where your freedom starts to taste different. It's not just the freedom to leave, it's the freedom to not explain, to not justify, to not soften your decision so nobody gets offended. You are no longer editing your survival to look pretty. You are no longer packaging your resistance in a way that's comfortable for others. You are simply living what your nervous system has been screaming for years. They will say you think you're better than everyone now. They will say you became egoistic, arrogant. Let them talk. They talked when you were quiet. They talked when you were kind. They talked when you were breaking. The difference now is simple. You no longer live chained to what they say. Only the strong resist the urge to go back just to avoid being misunderstood. Comment if you've ever stepped back from people or places and watched everything reveal itself in your absence. Because this is not just you pulling away, this is strategy. This is survival. This is the moment where your absence becomes your loudest message. And whether they learn from it or not, one truth remains. You will never again discount your own presence just to stay where you were never truly seen. They thought breaking you would be the end of the story. They never imagined it was only the prologue. All the times they underestimated you, all the times they laughed, dismissed, ignored, those moments didn't disappear. They sank, deep. Layer by layer, they went down into a place inside you where nothing is forgotten. And now, from that depth, something is rising that they are not prepared to face. You are no longer the same person who begged to be understood. That version of you died quietly on nights nobody saw. What stands here now is built from the wreckage. From every disappointment, every lie, every betrayal. This new you doesn't need applause, doesn't need validation, doesn't even need them to admit they were wrong. Your power now is not in what they give you. It's in what you no longer need from them. This is the moment of transformation they never predicted, when your absence stops being a wound and becomes a throne. You don't chase, you don't insist, you don't go back to talk one last time. You let the distance do its work. And in that distance, something becomes clear. The one they tried to reduce is the one they cannot replace. That realization cuts sharper than any revenge. Have you noticed how quiet strength unnerves people more than open anger? When you stop explaining your choices, stop defending your boundaries, stop negotiating your worth, their brains panic. They were used to your emotional access. Now, the door is shut. No screaming, no chaos. Just a firm, permanent lock. The truth hurts more when it is not shouted but lived. Your journey was never about turning into a saint. It was about finally accepting the parts of you they called wrong. The intensity, the silence, the darkness. The monster they feared so much was never a villain. It was your guardian, the one that whispered leave long before you had the courage to listen. Now, that guardian is awake, and you're finally walking with it, not against it. Your pain will turn into strength, and here it already has. It sharpened your perception. It trained your instincts. It taught you to read rooms, to sense danger, to feel energy shifts no one else notices. That's not paranoia. That is survival turned into inner strength. What almost destroyed you also forged you. Every hit was a hammer. Every scar, a mark of resistance. You're not out here trying to prove you're unbreakable. You're proving something muito mais perigoso, that you can be broken and still not belong to anyone. They don't own your story. They don't own your scars. They don't own your next move. You bother the system because you survived without becoming their puppet, their victim, their example of failure. You walked out of the script. Now your silence carries weight. Your no has history. Your distance has context. You are not cold. You are precise. Not bitter, just awake. Not heartless, just done bleeding for free. This clarity is a kind of freedom they will never understand because it cannot be explained to those who benefit from your confusion. You don't owe them that translation. They will try to rewrite the narrative, of course. They'll say you changed, that success got to your head, that you became selfish, arrogant, too full of yourself. That's what happens when authenticity stops bowing to convenience. Every time you protect your peace, someone who fed on your chaos will call you the villain. Let them. Villain is just what cowards call you when your force no longer serves them. Deep down, you know they would prefer the old you. The one who stayed silent, stayed small, stayed available. That version made everyone comfortable, except you. That version died the day you realized you were not born to please. The day you saw that approval is the cheapest drug, and you were overdosing. From that day on, every step you took alone became an act of rebellion. I challenge you to see yourself the way life has been trying to show you, not as a victim of everything that happened, but as the architect of what comes next. You are not defined by the ones who broke you. You are defined by the fact that they didn't finish the job. You rose. You adapted. You hardened where it was needed and stayed soft where it mattered. That balance, that's not an accident. That's evolution. Only the strong resist the urge to go back to what hurt them, just because it's familiar. You are resisting. Every day you stay gone, every day you keep your distance, every day you choose yourself again, you are rewriting your nervous system, teaching it that safety is not in being accepted, but in being aligned with your own truth. Even if that means walking alone in the dark, comment if deep down you know this is you. If you feel that something in you has shifted forever, and there is no going back to the person you were before. Because this is not just an ending. This is an upgrade written in fire and shadow. Your absence was the lesson. Your rise is the answer. And from now on, anyone who wants a seat at your table will have to face the version of you that finally knows its own value.